I don't usually see you when you're pulling it up.
He can't hear you.
Yes, we are.
What is going on, everybody, and welcome to the RPS NBA Around the Rim show. I am your host, JSU, and not just me personally, but a big day yesterday for me and a lot of subs at RPS. So shout out to all you guys. I know the cores were fire. Me and Tony were very similar with our cores. AP was pretty similar too, but I think we were like one guy off. But we're really happy to see a lot of people, use the cores, and it helped them win some money. So I love that. And if you guys saw, my winning team, it was my core that I had up there. I used that exact core of Tyler Johnson and, I can't even remember the rest of Troy Brown, Thomas Bryant, Jared Allen. So it was pretty much, it was the exact same core and then just 3 swaps in. So I was really pumped to see that one take down all the money. But boys, I bring in the big guns today. No AP. AP's off doing the golf scramble or whatever the heck he's doing. So I got a replacement though for him. First off, my man, Hoop, what's going on, brother?
Just honored to be here. I mean, big winner last night. I mean, you kind of, don't want to take the full victory lap and trying to spread. You won 100K. I mean, let's go. I mean, that's very solid. Congratulations. We like seeing that. I mean, you got to be up there in terms of the most 100K shippers from anyone in this industry. I mean, in the last year, how many have you had? 6, 7, 8?
I mean, yeah, I don't really know.
Come on, it's all right. Hey, come
exactly
on.
How many.
You know that number.
How many is it? Don't be saying you don't know.
I don't know. In the last year or like in the last 2 years? I mean, in the last 2 years, it's double digits. I don't know the exact number, but yeah.
Honestly though, I mean, that's something to be proud of. I mean, you got to be up there. It's probably the best, tournament NBA tournament player. I mean, it's phenomenal, man. It's very impressive.
Like small entries, I think he's number one. I do. He might maybe not as far as the mass multi guys, but as far as if I need a guy to build me 1 to 3 teams, I'm choosing JSU over anybody.
Yeah, I mean, definitely MME. I'm still, I'm very new to. I'm not gonna lie and say I've been doing it.
You don't need to get out of your lane when you ship 100K every couple of weeks. Stay right in that lane.
It's still something I want to, get better at and everything. But yeah, I've only been doing it for really the last couple months. 2 months before COVID started and starting off. Since, every sports came back, I've been doing a little MME, but for the most part, I usually am a 1 to 3 lineup guy. So yeah, it's nice though to make that big shipper starting off NBA, starting off hot. But
always good right out of the gate to get that big shipper. It makes you feel a lot better about things and you got more flexibility.
I will say though, I'm still I still have I don't know, 5 more to catch up to Hoop in the last 2 weeks. So I got some ways to go here to catch the real guy who's winning all the money. But the next guy we got on, he already interrupted and introduced himself kind of, but everyone knows Big T. I mean, Big T, what's going on, man? Big T gives me a call last night. We don't need to get into the whole story, but
I think you should tell the story because I got just a little piece of it. It's good. I like hearing stories like that.
You don't even know what the story is.
You know what?
I think I do.
The whole story because I didn't even tell Tony the whole story. So the whole story is if you're a member at RPS, and I was getting back to you yesterday, I went to my best friend's kid's grad party. He graduated. He's going to Tennessee College. Shout out to you, Nico. But he had a party. I was there for about 2 hours, and the whole time I'm answering DMs. I'm answering questions in the chat. I had my course pinned for the 2-gamer early. So that's from 5 to 7. And I'm also trying to watch the Spurs game on my phone because I had DeJounte Murray. So I was really invested in that. I drive home. It was about a 45-minute drive. I dropped my brother and his fiance off. And then me and my girlfriend get home and she's like, let's watch a movie. And I'm like, right now, like during the second half of the game that I really want to watch, which is the Phoenix Dallas game and the end of the Houston game as well. She's like, yeah, all right. So I ended up watching American Pie 2. She's never seen it before. I thought it was ridiculous. So we watched it. And then Tony calls me as the movie's ending. And I have no idea.
First, I sent you the eyeballs a few times. The eyeballs.
I didn't get it. I didn't even get the text. Like,
he's
I didn't
locked
see
into
it.
that movie. Did your girl? Is it fiance or girlfriend?
It's girlfriend. My brother just got engaged, but it's
okay. So what? Is she like take the phone? Like you're no phone access during the movie?
Yeah. It is a no-go. It is a no-go to watch NBA on my phone while we watch a movie. I try. Okay. It's a no-go. I really try. So long story short, though, that's what happened. Tony gives me the call. He's like, have you looked? Do you know you just shipped? And I'm like, huh? What do you mean ship? So I mean, Tony, you can go into that if you want, but
yeah. So to pick it up, what he said. So about, I don't know. Obviously, I was watching all the games like I always do, but towards the end, I started to see him creep up the leaderboard. Looked at his team. He's got the winner. I didn't really say anything though, because there's still a little time left in the Milwaukee game. But he had Giannis and Luka. So I'm like, this dude's got a real good chance because he's got the two best guys. And no one else really had that combo that was with him. So I knew he had a chance, but I didn't look super close. And then Milwaukee ended, and then the other game was getting ready to end. And I think he needed one more Luka bucket. And Luka went in and got it, sent him the eyeballs, got no response, sent him the eyeballs again, got no response again. So I call him after it's over. Dude's like, sounds like he's asleep, clearly on the workbench, doing something. Yeah, I mean, no idea he won. Like he could have. I could have told him that he was even. He was up 100. I could have told him anything. He had no clue anything. Just a total. That's when you know you're the alpha, when you don't even watch winning 100Ks. Like,
and if you're not, I mean, the only acceptable excuse is to be on the workbench. So if you're watching a movie and you can't sweat out the 100K NBA victory, I'm guessing it was movie straight to the bench. So I mean, we got to. I mean, just
he
all
definitely
around
went to the bench after
that.
No question.
All around,
all right,
fabulous
we
evening.
Start airing what was going on during the movie out. All right, but I mean, I will say this was the first time ever where I was sweating big money and I wasn't watching the end of the game. That was like the first time ever. I told Hoop it's the first
because
dribble
you weren't only
I've
sweating
since the restart.
Yeah, I mean, because you weren't only sweating the NBA, you were sweating in the sheets. I mean, it's very clear what was going on.
I'm really glad my girlfriend's working right now at the hospital and not.
So tell us the story.
Show.
Seriously though, what happened after you got off the phone with me? What did you do after that? Not like we don't need to get into the workbench, but like what did you say to her? Did you just go in and did you know you had a chance to ship like before you told her?
Yeah. Well, okay. So this is what happened. Right once the Houston, I was watching the Houston game. I knew that Giannis was going off. I knew that I had a team with Giannis and Luka. And I knew that team was my core stack because I just knew the 5 guys that I had because I listed them on RPS for my core plays. So I knew that team had Giannis and Luka. When I saw Giannis go off, and then I see Luka in the first half, he's doing well. I'm like, all right, I definitely am up there, but I got a shot. And then that's when the whole movie time went on. So yeah, I mean, I went in. I told her, and honestly, I'm not even gonna lie to you. She says, "Oh, that's great, honey," and then falls asleep.
Oh, no.
I swear to God, that's just what happened. So it's just like total but then I got my dad calling me, and he's on Twitter. So of course, when I post it, he calls me at 1:30 in the morning. So it was fine, whatever. But yeah, that's the story. So
it's a good one. It's a dandy.
Yeah. I'll tell you right now, American Pie. Good movie. Solid movie. It's a strong movie. Tony texts me and goes, I'm going to watch American Pie now.
Yeah, I'm going to get right in there and watch it. I mean, if that's all you got to do to ship 6 figures, I'm going to go watch it. I mean, always, too, my core's just all over it. But, of course, JSU just a little bit better, just like Hoop. I always do these shows. People just a little better than Big T, just rubbing it in Big T's face like always.
Am I rubbing it in anyone's face? Like
that 100K is rubbing it in my face, owning me. Hoop winning 500K, owning me.
Should I put the jump shot as my background, Tony? I might do that.
Might as well. I mean, get it up. today.
All right, I'll do that. But guys, let's get into this slate because we got a really good slate on DK. For some reason, they leave out the first game, the Toronto-Miami game, but we're going to hit on it because it's on the FanDuel main slate. So I do want to get to it because that locks at 130. So let's kind of bring it there first, guys. Toronto versus Miami, two very good defensive teams. I mean, we expect this game to be a great defensive game, but I think on FanDuel, it's really interesting because there's so much value now that you might actually want some studs from this game, depending on how you're making lineup construction. From the Indiana value, the Washington guys, some of them are still cheap. We've got, the Denver guys probably are going to be in play. So, I mean, let's talk about this game here. Tony, I'm going to start with you first. What are you thinking from this Miami side or the Toronto side?
Yeah, so first of all, this game is pretty ugly for the full slate just because, we got some pretty good spots later, some star power later. I don't love this game as far as the full slate, just looking at the different guys. I mean, you could pull – what's the deal with Jimmy Butler anyways? He was like quarantining after the game or something, and now he's fine again? Like what – do we know what happened to him?
I honestly have no idea.
You guys didn't hear that? He was
I heard he got quarantined, but I don't know what.
And then they never said anything after it, though. Like, was it a 12-hour quarantine or something? Like, what? Now he's just back.
Did he leave the bubble for some pizza and come back? Like,
he would be longer though. Like, whatever. I mean,
that's if he left the bubble for wings. That's different. If he goes to a pizza joint, it's fine. It's not a big deal. But like, he probably goes for those wings.
He probably left the bubble to go watch American Pie too.
He should have. If I found out he watched American Pie 2, I'd be rostering him today. I'll tell you that much. But yeah, I mean, Jimmy Butler from the Miami side, I really don't think there's anyone else I could even consider. And Jimmy really isn't in play for me. I mean, he's a good play if you're playing 150, but Toronto plays good D, Miami plays good D. It is surprising the total's as big as it is. I mean, we got a 226 total in that range. That feels, but the bubble has produced a ton of offense too. So I can see where it'd be a little higher. Definitely not from the Miami. And then Toronto is a little bit better of plays just because they're condensed rotation. But again, Pascal at 8K on FanDuel. Lowry is 8,300. None of these guys like pop off the page as good values. They're more of fillers. And now that we have late swap, I don't want to use a filler in the first game, really, unless it's just the perfect fit. I'd rather just leave the spots open and kind of adjust as we go. So I'll be interested to hear what you guys say, but we could probably talk about Showdown after this too for a minute, just to give something on that. But as far as full slate FanDuel, I don't think I like anything, but let's hear what Hoop says.
Yeah, Hoop, what are you thinking about this game? And yep,
just not the greatest of spots, the greatest of games. No one stands out as like a strong value play. No one stands out as a strong spend. The one thing I will say, though, that Tony kind of touched on is those Toronto guys. It's a tight rotation. They're going to play a lot of minutes. So if it is a close game, I would not be surprised to see a couple of them get there. Lowry played great the other night. But I just can't see myself locking in any of these guys, especially with some pending news like the Indiana situation. It sounds like Oladipo is going to sit, and then not sure on Brogdon. Like if both those guys sit, then we're going to have to look to some Pacers guys, Aaron Holiday, and man, TJ Warren. What the hell was that? Where did that come from?
I don't know. Rain and threes. I have no idea.
Wow,
it's kind of like my picture in the background over Big T. Just rain and threes to win the game. But go ahead. Yeah, let me just touch on this because I started the build, or at least my 3 builds on FanDuel that I'm going to use. And it's really interesting. If we get this Brogdon news, because it looks like Oladipo is doubtful, so it looks like he's going to be out, even though we thought Brogdon Oladipo was going to be out last game because he seemed very questionable. And then he plays, and Brogdon's the one we thought was going to play, and he's out. So I don't know if they're like going to rest Oladipo today and play Brogdon. Yeah, so it kind of worries me a little. But if Brogdon doesn't play, that just opens up a world of value.
Yeah.
TJ McConnell, Aaron Holiday, Justin Holiday. Miles Turner would be too cheap. TJ Warren, even in his big game, a 6,700 is still a really good price on FanDuel if he's going to be the main guy there. So even as the second guy, he was still amazing. So, it's going to depend on that. But if we get that news, I think you might end up having to spend. You just might have the money where you're going to spend up for one of these studs, probably from the Miami side, because I've noticed from the builds that power forward, you might want to end up spending up for two studs if there's that much value at small forward, at point guard. So center, if you're not going to Jokic or Embiid and you're going to like a Turner or a Bryant, then you're going to probably have to spend up for a Butler or a Bam. So it just comes down to roster construction for me. If we do get that value, then I'll definitely have some Butler or some Bam in my lineups. If we don't get that value, then this game is probably a wash for me. Probably just going to stay pretty much away. Unless you're making like 100. If you're making 150 teams, honestly, I would throw in some game stacks just in case, just because I think this game is the lowest owned by far out of all of them. So that's my take on it.
Yep, that's what I agree.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on. We get to touch on now the Indiana versus Washington game. I think this is one of the biggest games on the slate, honestly, because it's going to dictate where a lot of people go for value. And I touched on it already. Justin Holiday is way too cheap if Brogdon sits out, 3,700 on DraftKings. I think he's that too on FanDuel. And then you got the TJ Warrens, Aaron Holiday, and TJ, who would probably be too cheap with Brogdon and Oladipo out. And then you got Miles Turner and TJ Warren. So what are we thinking here, Tony? I'm going to start with you. What are you thinking from this game?
Yeah, so Washington plays no D. They just played yesterday, right? That was the Nets game was yesterday, right? Yeah, obviously, because it had the two good center plays. But, they're the second day in a row, they already play no defense. Indiana is going to be a total smash spot, depending on who plays. I think Hoop said it, or JSU, one of you guys said it, but if Brogdon somehow sat too, these guys, I don't know how you wouldn't play a ton of them. They're going to go off. And TJ Warren, coming off that monster game, he's 7,400 on DK. But depending on who plays, that's the hard part about this game, because it does depend on – I think Brogdon will play today just because it didn't sound like anything too crazy the other day. I think AP said in the chat that he slept on the pillow wrong or something, but – I think he'll play. So if he plays, I still think these guys are in a really good spot to score a ton of points. I might even go in there on the Run Pure Bet side and bet Indiana team total over, because I just don't see any way they're not scoring 120 plus points in this game. the points are going to come super easy against this tired Washington team who got picked apart by the Nets yesterday, which was embarrassing. I think they get blown out, and I think they give up a ton of points. So all these guys are in play. Aaron Holiday looked really good the other day. His price is up, though. No prices really – say Brogdon does play. No prices really stick out as, incredible values. But at the same time, I think a lot of these guys are definitely in play, including Brogdon. I don't know how people will treat Brogdon after he did that the other day, ended up sitting out. But at 6,200 on DK, I think he's more than in play. And all these guys, though, I'll be interested to hear what you guys have to say. But I like Indiana a ton. In Washington, it would just be Thomas Bryant for me. The prices have kind of come up on some of the other guys a little bit. I do like Troy Brown on FanDuel, right? I think he's 4,500 on FanDuel.
Yep.
I definitely like him there. But I don't like Troy Brown as much on DK. I think Indiana is decent on the perimeter a little bit, guarding him. So it'd be Thomas Bryant from them and Troy Brown on FanDuel, and then a bunch of the Indiana guys.
I'll tell you right now, if Brogdon for some reason ends up sitting with Oladipo out, I would like Troy Brown more, because that hurts them big time defensively on the wings. But why don't you talk about this game?
Yeah, just to continue on. It's a great spot here for both teams. And depending on the injury situation. Like if Brogdon and Oladipo are both out, then I have no problem paying that price tag for TJ Warren. I mean, he is going to be chucking the ball.
He's going to crush if those dudes are.
Yeah, and
he might be the best play of the whole slate if those guys are out.
Yeah, and honestly, people aren't going to feel comfortable with that price tag either. So I don't think you really have to worry about ownership. But this will be, my highest owned game if both those guys are out, and both sides. Like all the guys you guys mentioned on the Pacers side, I like Troy Brown still quite a bit at 5.2K. Like we've seen Troy Brown, like when he is, kind of the focal point of this team, he crushes. I think that first game was kind of an outlier. He got into foul trouble, never really got anything going. And then yesterday we saw him bounce back with a huge performance, all-around producer. He looked really active out there, played 38 minutes. 5.2K, I think, is still way too cheap for what we can expect from him moving forward. Yeah, the matchup might not be the greatest, but he's going to play so many minutes, and he's capable of doing absolutely everything, which we saw. So I'll be back on him. Brian, I think, is a really strong play. He looked dominant. I mean, I know he's going against, the Nets, and Jared Allen really didn't put up much of a resistance, but man, he looked good yesterday, just strong down low. So yeah, he would probably be my favorite one from the Wizards. And then Ish Smith, been playing solid basketball. He's, the price has come up a little bit. He's 4.7 now on DK, but I mean, he's playing upper 20s, 31 fantasy points, 33 fantasy points. Like if he's in that range again at 4.7K, he's a strong play as well. But it's a good game all around for me. I'm going to have interest definitely on for some Pacers and some Wizards here.
Yeah, Thomas Bryant went 4 for 6 from the 3-point line. Jared Allen just decided not to go out and cover him when he was outside in the 3-point line, literally wide open. Like He just left him. Jared Allen would sit in the paint, and Thomas Bryant was just wide open for multiple threes. He had like 3 in a row, and it was the same exact thing. You just stretch out, and Jared Allen didn't go out and cover him. I'm sitting there like after he made 2 in a row, and I'm like, how aren't you covering this guy now? Like, what are you doing? But
refuse to go out there.
Yeah. So, I mean, Thomas Bryant, I can't argue. I would say today that Miles Turner probably won't make that mistake, but maybe. I mean, he might. So, I don't know. But Thomas Bryant's a good play. I love Miles Turner. Really like him. TJ McConnell, I would expect would play a ton more with Aaron Holiday, which would be really interesting because I think it would downgrade Aaron Holiday just a little bit. I'd still like Aaron Holiday, but I think I'd prefer TJ because when they're on the court together, TJ is still the primary ball handler. So Aaron Holiday will see more minutes than TJ, that's for sure. So if you're from the minute standpoint, it's Aaron Holiday. But from a GPP side, if Brogdon's out for whatever reason, TJ McConnell becomes a very strong pivot in GPPs, and I really like him. If Brogdon is out, if Brogdon's in, totally different scenario, probably change that whole thought. But if he's out, I definitely like TJ. Anything else from this game, guys?
So how many is the most Pacers I can play if Brogdon sits? Because you guys always get on me for playing too many guys.
I would say
you're the master of tournaments. How many if I play whatever the tournament is today, just say the big tournament, how many is too many? If Brogdon sits.
Okay, so if Brogdon sits, I would say that you want 4 of the 5 guys. So you're going to want 2 to 3 cheap guys and then 1 to 2 of either TJ Warren and Miles Turner. You either want both and you want 2 of the cheapies, or you want 3 cheapies and 1 of the studs. If you have multiple lineups, like if you make 3 lineups, this is what I like to do.
I got 3 lineups.
Yeah. So say you have 3 lineups. I've used this scenario before with the Bucks because the Bucks are the same thing when like Giannis is out. If you have 3 lineups, what I would personally do is I would play at least 3, if not 4 of these guys. Normally what I do is I rotate. If there's 4 cheap guys, I'll rotate 2 to 3 of them. And if there's 2 guys in the mid-range or spending up, I'll rotate 1 to 2 of them. So I always have a combo of the 1 to 2. Like I'll always have Miles Turner and TJ Warren together with Justin Holiday and Aaron Holiday, or TJ McConnell and Aaron Holiday with those 2. And then I'll do one where it's 3 cheap guys and 1 of my favorites. So if Miles Turner, like for me, if Miles Turner is my favorite of TJ Warren and Miles Turner, then Miles Turner will get the extra spot. if TJ Warren is, then TJ Warren gets the extra spot. But if you're making 3 to 4 lineups, I think that's how you rotate it if you really like a game. Because, I mean, you're going all in on that game. So, like, if you're going all in, you want a little different combination, but just one different player from that team. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, that gave one of our members yesterday in the chat all day had just the total stones because he played Chiozza over TJ or in that first game. AP said something, really tipped it off, like maybe pivot back now that he's off the bench, low owned. And it ended up, I mean, that team was, I don't know what he had it in, but I think he won $3,000 or something. But his team was the total stones. Like, it would have won everything. I think he cracked, like JSU, you had, what, 390 or something?
I had 395, and he either had 393 or 397.
He had 400, the one I'm talking about.
I thought he had 397.
The one I'm talking about had 400 because I couldn't believe it. It was like 400 and a half or something.
He would have shipped everything.
And the best part is it didn't have Giannis on it. It was one of those teams with all the Tatums and the mid-tier build where
he had Nurkic.
So Giannis goes for 70-something, and he had 400 points without Giannis. Just shows you there's more than one way to build a winning team, too. So I always like when you talk about that because what happens to me in this spot, I always play 4 or 5, and I don't really rotate as good as you said. And I always end up with one stinker. It happens every time. If you shift them, and I might still like profit on the night because your other 4 crush. But you have that one guy that limits you from winning anything big. So I like that. I think that's good advice you kind of
get. And honestly, too, guys, I'm not going to lie. When it's something like this, I honestly play 4 teams because I need that extra rotation. If you only have 3, like if you're doing a 3-entry max, then I would just do exactly what I said, and you pick one of your favorite of the expensive guys. But if 4 teams is actually the nuts, because then you can have 1 with Miles, 1 with TJ, and then 2 with both of them and rotate the cheapies. That is honestly the best way to do it if you can have 4 lineups. If you're only in 3, then I pick my favorite. If you're in like a 3-entry max, I pick my favorite of the studs, rotate the cheapies. But yeah, that's how I like to do it. But I think that's good. Let's move on to the next game. The heartbreaker from the last time they were on, the Denver Nuggets. Man, they hurt my soul. I know they hurt Tony too a little bit.
They hurt me deep.
Denver versus OKC. Who I'm going to start with you. We got this Denver team again, another team where they've got people who are out. Looks like Will Barton's going to be out, I think, and then Jamal Murray. He's a game time decision. They say he's very questionable to play with a hamstring injury. But I mean, if these guys don't play, which I mean, if Murray doesn't play, we got to like some of these cheap guys from Denver, right?
Yeah, I mean, the main thing for me will just be going right back to Jokic. I mean, they just played like crap. And I mean, honestly, I've harped on this guy for so long, and I'm going to continue to do it. Malone is just a moron. Like with the rotations and the guys he plays, he just really just limits the overall team potential. Like just his decisions just make no sense, like whatsoever. But I'll be going back to him. I mean, Jokic is way too talented. I think he has a huge game here. I think he's kind of a lock. I think you just play him, assuming all those guys are out, and it sounds like they will be out. Morris, I think you go right back to him. The price tag, did it come up at all? Yeah, he's at $5K now. So actually, yeah, they did bump these guys a little bit. I think he's still in play. It'll just depend on what happens with the Pacers situation in terms of going back to these value guys. Porter, 4.5K. I think he's probably my second favorite. I think he bounces back. Only played 25 minutes. I think he gets a little bit more here. I think he had some foul trouble in that first game. I might be wrong. But for me, the main thing is definitely going to be Jokic as the core. And then some of these values, it all depends on what happens with the Pacers news, which we will get. I mean, these are both 4 p.m. Eastern games. So on Draftkings, we'll have this news before lock. But like I said, the main thing for me is going to be probably just locking in Jokic. I think he's in a phenomenal spot, phenomenal bounce back spot. So I'll definitely be probably all in on him.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you that it's a phenomenal bounce back spot. Now, OKC is a tough team. They're really solid team. I think in the beginning of the year, a lot of people did not expect to see what we're seeing kind of from OKC. They're just really good. They lost their main guys like Westbrook, and they're still going. Like, I mean, this team is really solid. Defensively, they're good. The key is going to be, for me, do people prioritize Indiana over the Denver Nuggets value? Because I think in tournaments, that's another way where you could get a little different. Everyone saw MPJ. He, didn't perform very well. Malone, took him out multiple times for messing up on defense. And then you see Michael Porter Jr., it happens 3 times in a row, and he's literally asking Malone why he's being taken out. You literally got burned 3 times on a 3-point shot. He obviously struggles a little defensively, but I think it's from the lack of offense. When he's not in a groove offensively, he's not in it defensively. He's one of those guys where if he's rolling on offense, I think he's a decent defender. But when he's not, he struggles. He has lapses defensively. So that worries me a little. But I think they're going to be somewhat underowned. Tony, what do you think from this Denver side?
Yeah, I think, a lot's going to depend on the Indiana situation. I think Brogdon plays, which wouldn't open up that value. But if Brogdon doesn't play, then it makes Denver a lot tougher to they did. You said it. They broke my heart the other day. They just looked terrible, and it was the best fantasy spot of all time with all those dudes min-priced. Joker was too cheap. It was a dream spot. They just kind of laid a stinker. And today the problem is OKC's got a really good defense too. Right now OKC is -6 on the DK Sportsbook. That number feels steep, but that tells me I don't think. If Murray plays, that number's going to come. The number's going to move. So they're planning on Murray for sitting. All these guys sitting, rolling out the same team as the last game, which is good. So I watched the whole thing. Joker's definitely a lock for me. I can't even imagine. He always does good against OKC too, so he's a lock. He's the easy one. But, man, MPJ, I always defend for him, and I always make fun of Malone. But like you said, JSU, he was just blowing assignment after assignment. He looked confused. His strength is his length. He needs to get down there and use his length. His feet are so slow. When they run him off screens and stuff, he just can't keep up, and he doesn't know principles. I don't know. It's a disaster, but you have to come back with them. If these guys are out, they need the scoring. There's no scoring out there. You look, Torrey Craig's not a scorer. Monte Morris is a scorer, but he doesn't play as good with Joker. Plumlee not a scorer. Millsap not really a scorer. They need the scoring of MPJ. So he is priced up higher. He was $3K last time. Now he's $4,500, but I think he's still a great play. I think Millsap bounces back. He's cheap. All these guys are cheap. The key guy for me, I think, is I just don't think Monte Morris looked good. I don't think he plays good with Joker because he needs the ball. And they like PJ Dozier. I know I always talk about him.
I was waiting for you to say his name.
He got a ton of run the other day too, and I just think they like him with this lineup more than Morris, but it's tough to play him too, just because you don't know. And Bol, I don't know why he played so good in the scrimmages, and then Malone just gives him no run. In his whole run the other day, the annoying part for me was he wasn't playing with Joker. You got to play him with Joker so you can space the floor. Don't play him with Plumlee. Why would you play Bol with Plumlee when Plumlee, they can just camp off him? It doesn't make sense. If they play him with Joker and let him shoot threes and block shots and actually use him, Bol could be the best play of this slate. So you better believe I'm still going to play him. I might light money on fire, which I've done plenty of times in my DFS career. But he's $3K. In my head, if they use him correctly, he only needs 15 to 20 minutes to totally smash his price point. And who knows, if he comes out and hits a couple threes, blocks a couple shots, he could get extended run, and I'm going to take some chances. Obviously not an all-in play, but if I'm playing 3 big teams, I'll play one with Bol, and it might even be my main team again, honestly.
There's just so much to hit on with that, because I think you hit it on the head when you talked about MPJ. Another one of MPJ's strengths, which really is tough with this team, is he is one of the best offensive rebounders, I think. He is really solid offensive rebounding. The problem is when you have Millsap and you have Jokic down low, they can't be up top. They don't have shooters like Murray and Bart. They don't have people outside to kind of open that lane up for him to go down low and get rebounds and stuff. He's the shooter, so he's staying out like on the 3-point line. And that was another problem because if you watch the scrimmages, that scrimmage he dominated the offensive glass. He put backs, like he was dominating the offensive glass. And I think that's one of the issues too. They don't have enough shooters to kind of space the floor. In that scrimmage, they did have more of those. I think Barton played, I'm pretty sure. But
Barton didn't play. It was all the same.
The scrimmage. Barton didn't play in any
Barton
of the scrimmages.
hasn't played, I don't think.
I thought him and Murray played one of the scrimmages. I thought maybe it was the one MPJ didn't play. But whatever. That was the day like he dominated the scrimmage. He was offensive rebounding. PJ Dozier, I agree with you. I think Malone likes him. I think he likes him more than Monte. The other problem with PJ though was he had foul trouble. Yeah. So that was another issue.
And he can't shoot.
I think he would have played more minutes. I think he would have played more minutes is my point though. I think he would have seen 20.
Why can Malone not do this today though? Like it sounds simple. I'm a Nuggets fan. It sounds easy. Why not start Joker, start Bull, start MPJ? You can space the floor with those guys. Jeremy Grant, play zone on defense and use your length. Like I just don't understand why they don't do that.
You're pretty much like playing Bull on the chance that he gets in there for the 5 minutes he plays and like dominates. So
no, I'm hoping they just change their plan from the other day and don't run.
Yeah, you're hoping that Malone changes his plan and
that's
he's
contingent
smart enough to realize.
That's contingent. Yeah, it's contingent on Mike or on Malone making a smart coaching decision, which does not happen very likely. So I do not like that.
I was going to say, like, I like Bull. Like, I would love to play Bull. I mean, if I'm making 150, I guess I'd give him a little love, but I can't trust Malone that much. I think
he sucks.
Tony, you're a diehard Nuggets fan though, so
you're just going all in. Freaking good. Like Malone is a moron. Not to mention these games don't even mean anything. Why would you not try to develop Bull a little bit? Yeah. Like you're just a moron, Malone.
Yeah.
What's the worst that could happen? You put him out there and he gets beat up a little bit. Like I don't.
Good learning experience.
I mean, and supposedly he's one of their best shooters.
He literally strokes the ball. In that pass he made, he got that rebound and took off and threw that bounce pass through the middle. Like, come on, Malone, you're a moron. Move on.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, Bull will be like less than 1% owned.
I'm going to play him for sure.
He is going to be less. He won't be 5%. Someone in the chat said, so play Bull at 5%. He won't even be 5. He'll be less than 1% owned because of last game in the minutes. But yeah, from the OKC side, is anyone in play? Like, I think Steven Adams is really cheap. I think Daniel Gallinari is cheap if the game stays close. I don't mind those guys. SGA is around 6K on DK. I wouldn't mind, like, if you're Denver stacking, I like those guys. I would bring it back with one or two of those guys, honestly.
Yeah, I think SGA is just too cheap at 6K. Like, that's just a phenomenal price tag on Draftkings. I think he's a great play there. Moderate interest in Gallinari, like you said. If you're going to play like 3 Nuggets in a tournament and you want to run it back with 2, I'd probably go definitely SGA. I think he's a good cash play as well. And then Gallinari is a fine play. You know, it's a good price tag. I mean, 5.6K guy that can get hot from 3, like definitely like him.
I say it every time Denver plays too. They can't guard the wing. I said it versus Jimmy Butler. They don't have anyone that can guard Gallo. Yeah. Like they have nobody that can guard the wing.
I'll say it too. If you're playing Jokic in your lineup with 1 or 2 of these value pieces, you should be bringing it back with somebody because you think this game is going to stay somewhat close. Like if you're paying up for Jokic. Now, if you're just paying for 2 value guys, that's different because they can get there. Like Malone's going to have to play MPJ no matter what because he just needs scoring. Like he's going to play a little PJ Dozier. He's going to play some of these cheap guys, whether it's a blowout or not. But
I think the Nuggets win this game, by the way. Like
I do too. Take.
No, I like the Nuggets, but I like them to bounce back and win. I mean, like I said, I don't like Malone. I think he's a moron, but it just seems like a good bounce back spot for the team overall.
I feel like I'll just never bet on Malone.
That's a good strategy.
Right and just stay away. But you guys might be right though. I mean, like that's
the Nuggets are easy to predict, man. They like win when you don't think they'll win, and they lose when they play a scrub team or something. Like they do it all the time. Like no one will give them a chance today, and they'll play great. Like Joker's going to go off, probably have a triple double. And these scrubs, a couple of these scrubs will get it going, and they'll win outright. There's 6 point. What's the money line in this game? I'm putting it up on the bets. Plus 200.
Tony,
I love plus 200.
Do you see? You saw that PJ Dozier took 11 shots in 16 minutes?
Yeah,
right?
I was. Yeah, he's got a broke ass jump shot too.
Oh man,
they like
wild.
PJ.
Right.
PJ's gonna.
Yeah,
PJ makes plays.
Yeah, no, they definitely like him. I mean, he was 3 for 11 and he played 16 minutes, and he was in foul trouble, or he would have played more. But let's move on. Memphis versus New Orleans. Very interesting game. Memphis has been a team. Really, I mean, Ja Morant has been on fire. He's been playing a lot of minutes. Looked really good yesterday. Then this New Orleans team has been kind of, underperforming. They've been a disappointment. They got smacked by OKC, really bad. So what are we thinking here? I mean, Memphis has just played yesterday, so they're coming on a back-to-back for them. I think New Orleans can keep it close, especially after getting smacked like that. I mean, you have to think they come back and at least keep this respectable, right? Hoop, let's start with you.
Yeah, I mean, another spot that I like for bounce back performance is the Pelicans. The problem is, it's like these guys are priced up. Like, I mean, you're talking $8K for Lonzo Ball. You're talking 8.7 for Drew Holiday. Like, those are some extreme prices. I can't play those. Even though I think the Pelicans play well here, probably get the win. I think they're going to have some good fantasy performances. I can't pay those price tags on the slate. The one I can play is Ingram at 8.1K. I really like Ingram today. I don't think he's going to have much ownership. I think he bounces back with a very strong performance here. So Ingram is my favorite. More of a tournament play. You don't have to worry about ownership either. I don't think he'll be high owned. And then another guy you can kind of look at a little bit, I think, is Favors. I mean, the minutes are always going to kind of cap his upside, but as a last-in cash type play, I don't mind him. But Ingram's the one I really like for tournaments. On the Memphis side, I'll be going back to Morant. Like, I think he's a really good play. He's looked very, very good here. They're going to kind of let him do his thing. It's a good matchup against the Pelicans. So Morant's my favorite on the Grizzlies side. Probably won't have any other Grizzlies, to be honest. It's just going to be Morant. So, I mean, my two favorite are Morant. I think he's in play for cash games and tournaments, and then Ingram for tournaments on the Pelicans side.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting with Morant because you would assume that he draws mostly Drew Holiday defense the entire game, or they pretty much match them together. And Drew Holiday is, in my opinion, one of the most underrated players in the NBA, and he's definitely one of the best defensive players, maybe the best perimeter defensive player in the NBA. So that is definitely a tough matchup. But at his price tags, I think Morant is still just too cheap. And yeah, I agree with you. He's in a great spot. Tony, what are you thinking about this game?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm definitely much lower on this game than you guys. I think I worry about New Orleans just completely quitting. They lost to Utah the first game, who Utah looked horrendous. They lost to them, and then they got blown out in the second game. They're basically out of contention for the playoffs unless they run the table or something. So I don't know. I worry about them quitting, and like Hoop said, they're all priced up to where, man, I just don't want to play any of them. Even 8K for Ingram, I like it, but I don't like it more than other spots on the slate. So I don't know. I think I'm off this spot. I kind of think Memphis plays good again, but like their best play, I think, is Ja. And like you guys said, Drew Holiday is going to be on him. I think that has to at least slow him down a little bit. I mean, a little bit of resistance. So I like him. I mean, he's been really good. He's a huge talent, but I don't know if I like him today more than other spots. Jaren Jackson's finally priced up a little bit. I mean, at 6,200, I see Coop talking about him in the chat. I just don't like it. I don't think this game. I mean, I'd rather play Brandon Clark at 4,200 than Triple J at 6,200. But I don't love this game. I'd rather go other spots. I don't know. The rest of the slate's so good, and I guess a lot depends too on the Indiana. I mean, if Brogdon was somehow out, the whole slate shifts. So I don't know. I don't like this game as much as other people will.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's definitely going to depend on some of this news here because you're right. Like, I would be higher on the Indiana, Washington, Denver, OKC games, honestly. But
or the Denver starters, too. We didn't really talk about the starters. Like, they could play a different starting unit that would change the entire slate, too, if they –
yeah, like Bull.
Yeah, like that would change things in a hurry. Like you guys would be like, "Oh, I love Bol now." If he started,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Why would he not?
I mean,
I don't want to go back down this alley.
I like Bol. I just don't want to trust Malone to give him 15 minutes. If Malone said he was
don't
playing
go back to the
15
Nuggets.
minutes,
I'm going to get tilted again.
All right, we won't go there. So I think personally, Tony, if you are off this game almost because you just think the Pelicans have checked out, the one guy you should play is Brandon Clark because that means more run, I think, for him. Probably less run maybe for the starters if they get blown out.
That price seems good too. Like that price.
Yeah, 4,200 on DK. He's definitely a top value play, especially if you think that this game could get out of hand. Because again, he saw 24 minutes last game. Give this guy 24 minutes, he could easily get it done in 24 minutes. I mean, so I do like him. I think Drew Holiday too is the guy on FanDuel who I just see as like too cheap from New Orleans. Yeah. He's 7,600 as opposed to 8,700 on DraftKings. Yeah. If there's one Pelicans guy that I would trust if you think this game's going to stay close, it would be Drew Holiday. Lonzo Ball, 6,900. Definitely someone I wouldn't trust, but is a cheaper price tag than we've seen, but I'm probably not going to go there. But is in play, I think, on FanDuel, whereas on DraftKings, he's way too expensive. But outside of that,
DK pricing him at 8K is just hilarious.
That's nuts.
He should be 6K and he's 8K.
Yeah, JSU is right though. All better plays on FanDuel than DraftKings. Drew Holiday has to be the biggest difference between the two sites. Way too expensive on DK and good value on FanDuel.
Yep, I totally agree. But I think that's it for this game. Let's move on. San Antonio versus Philadelphia. We get to talk about my boy. Where's my boy in the chat? Easy Money? Is he in this chat right now? This guy. I ship 100K, and he's in the chat going, Ben Simmons is still better than Jason Tatum. Oh, and congrats, by the way. Literally, I can't even just get one night where I don't have to tilt about Ben Simmons and Jason Tatum and Ben Simmons. Are you kidding me right now? Jason Tatum went off, by the way, yesterday. If people didn't see that. Ben Simmons is better than Jason Tatum? Are we serious right now?
One of the worst takes I was hearing yesterday, too. A lot of these people, I don't know where it started, were saying Jason Tatum doesn't want to be in the bubble, doesn't want to play. Like, this dude is a 24-year-old, 23-year-old hooper. Like, he wants to be playing basketball. What are you guys talking about?
You might be calling out one of our own right there.
Is it one of our own that said that? Seriously?
I know for a fact. It was my man Mangone.
Mangone. Come on. That wasn't you, Mangone.
That was
no.
I know.
Was it really Mangone? I didn't think it was.
I'm 100% positive that Mangone was on the show and stated that exact thing you said. So probably
Mangone, you got to send the gear back. Go back to FedEx. Send the gear back.
Return to sender.
You got to return to sender, Mangone.
Ben Simmons is the biggest fraud in the NBA, by the way. Like, you look at what happened. You look at what happens in the playoffs when they face a team that is good on defense. He disappears and cannot do anything. When he goes against Boston, he's done. He is so overrated. So overrated. Just any good scheming, defensive-minded coach will take him completely out of the equation with ease.
That's it. I control the scheduling. Hoop is now on every single NBA show from now on when Ben Simmons is on this slate, just so I have someone
it's just
actual knowledge to see. Like, it's clear when you watch Ben Simmons, he is not good. He's a good rebounder and he makes layups.
He's a good athlete.
Really good at rebounding and making layups, I will say. Tony,
good athlete.
I mean, I'm not like a huge Ben Simmons fan. You guys, I'm predictable. Like, I like guys that can shoot, that can play basketball. I like guys that if they were 6 foot, they'd still be able to play basketball. Ben Simmons, if he was 6 foot, he would not be any good at basketball.
I thought you were getting on me for my Ben Simmons takes last show.
No, because I forget what you were saying. What were you saying? You were saying
I was saying that he's overrated. I said exactly what Hoop said.
I don't know if he's overrated though, because no one really likes him at the moment. Like, I almost think he's underrated a little bit. First of all, I think he's an incredible defender. Like, I'll give him that. like super long, can defend anybody. I think if they play him at the 4 instead of the 1, this is the same thing I say about Giannis too, by the way. Play him inside a little bit, then I like him. Like, I just don't want him on the perimeter when he can't shoot. Play him inside. And he doesn't ever fit with Embiid either, because you almost have to play Embiid outside and Simmons inside or something, because they both can't play in the paint. But anyways, like, I hate guys that can't shoot. I don't want it to sound like I'm defending Ben Simmons. Like, it isn't the hill I want to go down on. So I'm on the same side with you guys.
Okay, I was taking it last time as you were on that hill. I forget what
you said. You said something that was egregious, but I forget.
Okay, well, it was. I'm sure it might have been, but I'm not a fan of Ben Simmons. I'm with Tony to a point where he's saying he's underrated. I thought that he was overrated, because a lot of people, when he came into the league, thought he was the greatest thing, the next big thing. Like, they were saying, like, this guy was going to be the best player on the team. Like, Joel Embiid is way better. Like, it's not even a question. And like, Ben Simmons might be the 3rd best player on the team to Tobias Harris. Like, I don't even know. Like, I really don't think that he is this great player.
Tobias.
Well, there you go then. That's your first problem, all right? Ben Simmons can't score, so he's useless.
Like, if you redraft,
he's useless. On in the playoffs, he's useless. He plays good defense, that's it.
Yeah, but he's still 24 years old, too.
The Celtics will eat him alive. The Celtics, with all their wing defenders, will eat him alive. That's why I love it. I can't wait until the playoffs. It's like you with Giannis. You just can't wait to see Giannis fold. Well, I can't wait to see Ben Simmons.
I saw it again last night, by the way. Giannis had an incredible game. Last 2 minutes, didn't look too strong.
All right, well, you did strong enough for me, so we're not getting on Giannis.
I mean, we're not talking about the fantasy anyways. He's great fantasy-wise.
Yeah, and that's my thing with Ben Simmons. I said he's fine for fantasy. No problem playing in fantasy. He does all the things you want. He gets rebounds, he gets assists, he gets dunks and steals and blocks. Like, he's fine. But as a player, I just think he's overrated.
Yeah, same as my Andre Drummond take. Like, he's a terrible real life basketball player. He's awful. But yes, you can play him for fantasy. He's going to get 20 rebounds and blocks and
Drummond for sure. Because when they just give him away to Cleveland, that pretty much proves your point.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, he's terrible.
That definitely prove your point for sure.
Yeah. If you ever like think you're a $100 million player and they just give you away to Cleveland, then you suck.
Yes, thank you. Perfect.
All right. So, Tony, let's talk about this San Antonio versus Philadelphia game, because San Antonio is a team where, they have Derek White, DeJounte Murray, two clear guys with DeMar DeRozan. But those two guys are the ones that kind of primary bring the ball up, handle the offense, kind of get everyone set up. I mean, they're cheap, but it's Popovich. Do we want to trust it? And then Philly's a really strong defensive team. What are you seeing here?
Yeah, so San Antonio's been one of the better value teams the last 2 games. I think it's their 3rd game in the bubble. They've been one of the better values, but the prices have finally caught up, at least on DK. I haven't looked at the pricing as much on FanDuel yet, but DK, like all these guys.
DeJounte Murray's price went down.
Who?
DeJounte Murray. He was 5,700.
He was one of the best plays yesterday, too.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think he was 59, and now he's 57. Or he might still be 57. It's one or the other. But
I love
Derek White.
For sure.
Derek White went up. That's for sure. I know that. 400.
Yeah, I mean, so all these guys are probably better deals on FanDuel for sure. But on DK, like even my boy Keldon Johnson that I've played twice that people were laughing at me for that he's done pretty good. He's 4,100 now. You can't play him at 4,100. He was a 3K play, not a 4K play. All these guys, though, I mean, Lonnie Walker was 3K or in the 3Ks. Now he's 4,400. I don't like him as much. I mean, Murray, for sure it'd be Murray and Podol for me on DK. I mean, DeRozan over 8K. I'm not doing that. You still don't know. I mean, the Spurs have looked good, though, in the bubble. They'll probably somehow make a run in here just because they're well coached and they can kind of get some of these young guys going. But I don't know, like Murray and Podol for that side. And then Philly, I think Embiid is really the only play, but I'm playing Joker, so I don't really want to play Embiid even. So this game's kind of a stay away from me on DK. And then FanDuel, definitely Murray if his price went down. I love that.
Yeah, Murray's price, I think, stayed the same at 5,700. White actually went up. He was 55 and went to 59, which is interesting. But why don't you talk about this game?
Yeah, definitely more on the Spurs, and it's the guys you mentioned. Like, I think Murray's still a fine play. Even at 6.2K on DK, like, he's been playing great. In the first game, he had foul trouble. So, he disappointed, only played 21 minutes, but bounced right back, 34 minutes, 44 fantasy points. I mean, they're, letting him and White kind of do their thing. And even White, I mean, on DK, 5.7K. Like, I don't hate that. I mean, okay, so we got the Spurs on a back-to-back, and we always know there's potentially some issues lurking, but I'm not too concerned about that in this bubble. I think they're just going to continue to ride these young guys, and Pirtle as well. Price has come up 5 point. The problem is, though, center is freaking loaded today. And we already talked about Miles Turner, who's a phenomenal play. We talked about Joker, who's a phenomenal play. And we talked about Thomas Bryant, who is also a phenomenal play. It's tough, like, and the decision at center is going to kind of make or break the slate, because it goes a long way in terms of roster construction if you play Joker, if you play two of those other cheaper guys. So now that I think about it, probably won't be on Pirtle at all, just because the position's so strong. But I really do like Murray still and White. And then those value guys, I mean, I've been playing Walker quite a bit, Lonnie Walker, but I mean, I'm not playing him for 4.4K, I'll tell you that much. So it's just going to be Murray. It's going to be White. And then on the 76ers side, just I agree with what Tony said. Like, yeah, Embiid's a great play. I think strong play, but man, like, center's loaded. I just don't see myself going there. I like Joker better. So, I mean, if you're a game theory tournament guy, maybe give Embiid a stronger look. I won't be playing those sort of contests today. So he won't be in my player pool.
Interesting, because Embiid went off, and I think a lot of people are going to see that and then see Joker kind of had a poor performance last game with not a lot of help around him. It'll be interesting to see what Embiid's ownership is compared to Jokic. I'm not saying he's going to be higher than Jokic, but I wouldn't just rule it out after Jokic's, poor performance. And it was really just a bad second half, because he dominated the first half, Jokic. Yeah. He was doing great. And then the second half just totally dropped off. So it'll be interesting. I think I'm with you guys, though. I think I'm more Jokic than Embiid if I'm paying up. It's really close. But I think I'm going to hope that people get off Jokic and just go to Embiid, because he had 80 last game. When people see 80 last game, like, I don't care who you're playing, like, that guy is someone people are going to look at. So I think I'm going to stay away from Embiid and play Jokic because of the other two guys. I can't play everyone. And then I was on Murray last game. He obviously did really well for us. If you were on my core plays, he was in there. I think today I'm not as high on him just because the Sixers defense is extremely good. But I still don't mind the price tag. I'd probably play one of him or White. I think I would lean him over White, but I can't argue with anyone that wants to play White over him. I was really glad to see Patty Mills' time on the floor actually didn't affect White or Murray. And I was right about that, because I had a few people ask me about that in chat. It actually affected Lonnie Walker the most. Keldon Johnson maybe a little too. But so that was nice to see that Patty Mills isn't going to really affect those two guys that much. But I'm with you guys. After that, it's kind of a stay away. I don't really want anyone else from the Sixers side. And the Spurs side, it's pretty much Murray. Podol is a complete stay away on FanDuel at 6,500. I wouldn't even look. I would just X him out at 6,500 on FanDuel. But yeah, let's move on. Lakers versus Utah. This is an interesting game. We just saw Utah get smacked. Lakers didn't look good last game either. I expect LeBron or Anthony Davis, one of these guys, maybe both, will be a little lower owned. Not crazy because there's so much value, but I think one of these guys will be. And it's interesting on FanDuel specifically. I think Davis is someone that people are going to have to look at from where the value is. Power forward is just a spot where you kind of have to spend up. And as a game, I don't like this game at all. Like, I kind of want to nix this game out of my player pool. So I think on DK, I'm nixing this game out. And on FanDuel, I'm going to end up having a little of this game just because I might need to spend up for AD. What do you think, Hoop?
Yeah, I agree with you on FanDuel. I mean, the power forward position, it's kind of been weak almost every slate. And, you get AD in there, you kind of lock in some decent points. So I like him. I mean, it's more going to be FanDuel for me, even with LeBron too. Like, yeah, it's small forward. You have to play 2 small forwards. There's not a ton to spend up on. I think they're in play there. Donovan Mitchell's cheap. I think those are the only 3 guys I'd even consider from this game. Donovan Mitchell, who I believe he's like 6.9K on FanDuel. And then, AD and LeBron, just because you have to play a small forward. On DraftKings, like, I'm not paying 10-7 for LeBron. I mean, great fantasy player, don't get me wrong. But, with all the circumstances and everything going on with them not having much to play for, I just don't see the urgency for the Lakers. So I'm not going to pay the 10-7. I think I definitely, consider Anthony Davis a little bit. It's just going to come down to roster construction. If I like those other games a lot more that we talked about, which I do, I'm going to be focusing there. They'd kind of be last guys in. I'm not going to start a lineup with Anthony Davis, but if I have 9-8 left and he fits, I'm definitely going to be good, and I'll move on. Donovan Mitchell is not, he's 7K on DK where you have more flexibility. I think he's an okay play, but I prefer him on FanDuel where you have to play the 2 shooting guards. So not an exciting game, like you said. I'll mostly be off of it. I'll be more on it on FanDuel just because the roster construction over there is a little bit different. So in terms of DK, I don't like a ton. I mean, like I said, if I land on Mitchell or Anthony Davis, I won't be mad, but they're not going to be building blocks for me today.
So I know Jokic is your favorite spend up on DK out of these big guys at the top, but let's say you're not comfortable playing Jokic, not you specifically, but if someone said, like, I'm not comfortable playing Jokic, is it Embiid or is it one of these 2 Lakers?
It would be Embiid, but like I said, the problem is he plays center, and we're going to have 3 or 4 guys that we really, really like. Miles Turner and Thomas Bryant specifically, like we said. So makes it tough. I mean, that's why it's an interesting slate for that. I mean, to me, the best plays on this slate are at center. I think like 4 of the best plays on the slate are at center in Thomas Bryant, Miles Turner, Jokic, and Embiid. In terms of like raw points, I think he's the guy I'd probably go to first. So makes it tough, man. Makes it tough. You're gonna have to spend in some other spots.
Yeah, I would agree with you, but that's why I think these Lakers won't be as low owned as maybe they should be after the poor performance too, just from a lot of construction thing. I think Jordan Clarkson, if you wanted one cheap guy from this game, I think you can go back to, I don't love him, but I still think if the game's close, he's going to see 30 minutes because they just don't have anyone to score off the bat. Like, he is the only guy to give like Donovan Mitchell a blow, to give the starters, Mike Conley. He's the only guy they can put in there that can actually score on his own. But Tony, why don't you talk about this game?
Yeah, I mean, before we dive in, though, we got to have our normal talk here to give away this gear. But once again, we say it every single show, 316 people watching, only 77 likes. We got to get 150. I mean, we always got to be at half pace to be able to give out this gear. Good gear. I've been sending a shirt and hat still for the new people that are just watching this for the first time. We're at 314. We're at 83 now. We got to get to 150, so we got a long way to go. But only half the people hit that like button, and we'll give away some gear. And also, Run Pure Bets launched this weekend, and I think they ended up winning like 10 units or something this weekend. But tons of plays. Solid website, and right now we got a code on there, Run Pure DFS. I think we can give that out on here, where it's only $30 through August. And if I wasn't supposed to give it out, you just got the code anyways to get the deal. But $30 through the entire month of August, and you can check it out. See if you like it. See if you can win some money. Tons of content going up there. Once again, runpurebets.com. Run Pure DFS is the code. $30 through August, which I think is just like stealing. I mean, as many plays as you're going to get, as much content as you're going to get. Great stuff. So check that out for us for sure and hit that like button. But to get back to this game, I mean, Lakers, Utah, I kind of agree with everything you guys said. There's not much to add. Utah has looked terrible to me. I like slates like this where, especially on FanDuel, I think Donovan Mitchell is going to be very, very chalky, just because of his price, and that he pops in the optimizers a little bit, just because I mean, he's 6,800, and he's going to be projected for high 30s from most places. I just don't like Utah. I don't know. Like, they just have looked so bad to me. And obviously I can play AD and LeBron anytime, but I agree with Hoop. Like, these center plays are way better plays to me. And I don't really want to spend up. If you get to the perfect team, like say all this value opens up and we have to play another center and all of a sudden you just fit, like it fits with LeBron or fits with AD, sure, pop them in there and take your 50 points or whatever they give you and move on. But I'm not like eager to put these guys in my lineup. I'm not super excited about it. But if they fit, they fit. I think they're good plays, and that's kind of where I feel. I'm going to fade Utah, though. Clarkson, I think you could play Clarkson. I think you can play Donovan Mitchell. But I'm not overly excited about it. I think Utah sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. I think this is the game that if I was looking to fade one game, I think this would be it. I mean, outside of like an AD on FanDuel, maybe a LeBron, like on DK, I'm definitely not going to really have anyone from this game. I think this game is a complete stay away, and that's on the 5-game slate on DK. I mean, we're talking on a 6-game slate on FanDuel. It's just more.
It's way harder to fade on FanDuel, though. You definitely need, because it's just the stars just naturally fit on FanDuel.
But I agree with you. I like the call about Donovan Mitchell because I do agree at 6,800 on FanDuel, he is going to be very popular.
Like I guarantee who's playing him in cash. He has to be.
Yeah. Drew Holiday's. Drew Holiday's really cheap on FanDuel.
But wouldn't them just pair together?
Yeah, I mean, I think that'll be the most common shooting guard pairing. It's going to be Drew Holiday, and it doesn't break the bank at all. I mean, you're getting two guys that are relatively cheap, and it's just easy to put them in. So, yeah, they'll probably be the most common pairing, and honestly, I'll probably do it. I haven't built yet. I mean, I haven't built teams and whatnot, but it seems like it's the best route to go as of now.
Yeah, I mean, like on FanDuel specifically, I mean, no one's going to play Dennis Schroeder. And he didn't get the minutes because the game was a blowout. But if you think this game's going to be close, he could absolutely torch this defense of to Denver, missing a lot of these guys. I think he could get to the basket with ease. You saw Miami just get to the basket at will. They pretty much did whatever they wanted, really, in the second half for sure. The Denver defense just didn't look good. They were getting layups. They were getting drives to the basket, getting fouled almost every time, it seemed. How many free throws did they shoot? Like, it seemed like a lot. Denver was fouling like crazy.
I mean, Denver played so bad.
They couldn't stay in front. And you want to talk about one guy in the league who is so hard to keep in front. Schroeder is not a good defensive player, but offensively, this dude can get by people. And I think on FanDuel at 5,900, that is a pivot. Everyone's going to play SGA, Donovan Mitchell, Drew Holiday. I think if you want to be different, you play a Jimmy Butler at the top, you play a Dennis Schroeder at 5,900, or you go like down to someone cheap like Josh Richardson, who I don't really love. But I really think he's the pivot on FanDuel, and I think I just talked myself in to playing him on my 3 FanDuel teams. So I love it now. Do you guys like that? Or?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you got a play like that, I take notice because, like we said at the beginning of the show, I consider you the best GPP NBA player there is. So when you throw a play like out, I take note. Believe me,
I take note.
It's tough. It's tough too on FanDuel, right? There's not many pivots you can go to. You got Van Fleet.
I love the pivot at that position too because, like I said, I don't honestly like Drew Holiday all that much either. So if the two chalky guys and Dylan Brooks should be popular too, I think, just because of his price. But I don't like shooting guards, so I want to pivot there.
And I've talked about this. I actually had a really interesting someone DM me yesterday, and I wanted to touch on it on the show. And he asked me about the core plays. And he said to me, it seems like a few of these core plays are very chalky. And in NBA DFS, it's really interesting because in NBA DFS, it is the one sport. Like in baseball, I feel like you can fade the chalk. Like for a GPP core, you can completely fade chalk and have a low-owned stack and it be your core. You know, I do that every time when I'm doing a baseball core, pretty much. I would never give like the chalky stack as my GPP stack, most likely. But in NBA, it's the one sport where you can't play all the chalk, but you got to pick your favorite pieces of the chalk. So, like, I'm not playing like every single chalky player, but I'm going to pick the 3-4 guys that I think are my favorite. And then you'll see one, maybe two guys in my core that are going to differentiate me from the rest. So I'll give you an example. DeJounte Murray was in my core yesterday. That was the guy who differentiated me from the rest. He was 13% owned in this contest that I was in. He scored 44 fantasy points at 6,100. That was one of the guys that made me a little different. A couple days ago, I had Yusuf Nurkic at 8% or 10% or whatever he was, and he scored 54. Yesterday, I had Kyle Lowry, or 2 days ago, I had Kyle Lowry in my FanDuel core. He was a little different just because point guard, there were a few spots that were really popular. So that was one of my favorite plays on FanDuel at his cheap price. You don't have to give all low-owned plays in your core. You just have to give one or two guys where someone can say, okay, now I can make a roster construction with this one pivot, and then the favorite of my core, the favorite chalk guys of me or Tony. That's what we try and do. And I mean, Tony, I don't know if you have anything to add, but I just really thought that was important because it was a good question he asked, and he's not wrong. It's just when you're building a core lineup, I'm trying to give you exactly what my main team is going to look like.
Yeah, I think people overreact to chalk and non-chalk, and I think how you do it is perfect. And I mean, yesterday's a perfect example. Like, I hit that same core as you, basically. Our pivot was LeVert. I had LeVert, who was chalky, too, and you had DeJounte Murray, who was lower owned. We basically had a 2v2. We liked the exact same guys. I went a little bit more chalky than you. You had a great pivot. You went over 100K. I win like 2K. So it's the difference between a good approach and a bad approach. And honestly, I mean, I've been honest with it. Like, I've been tinkering with my NBA approach. I feel like I'm always honest with the people. Sometimes I'm too chalky. Sometimes I stack a little too much. I'm trying to fine tune it, and I'm learning a lot from you just watching it. And just like the people are trying to figure it out. Just like I learned from Hoop how to play the certain plays in the cash style tournaments. And if you're not learning doing this, I don't care who you are. You could be you could be Hoop, who's one of the biggest players in the world. You can still learn. I mean, I've taught Hoop some stuff about baseball, and he's a much better baseball because he used to be too chalky there. Every single person, I don't care who you are, you could literally be anybody. You could be Austin Mo, number one player right now as far as the rankings. He can learn stuff. So, I mean, you just should be learning, and that's
the best example of that is you've seen people come and go in this industry, people that get to the top of the industry and then they disappear because, I mean, honestly, you have to be looking to learn the entire way, and you have to be changing up your game style. You have to be changing up the contests that you're entering. You can't go into DFS and play the same contest, the same style day in and day out and expect to have long-term success. You always have to be looking at improvements to your game and learn, like Tony said, just learn from people. I mean, it's honestly that's the one thing that I think I'm pretty good at, learning from others, looking at people's lineups and, okay, why did they win and why did I lose type thing. You always have to be doing that. It's super, super important. Just, you don't want to be stagnant. That's how you run into trouble. Even at every level. It doesn't matter if you're playing high stakes, middle stakes, low stakes. If you're the top person in the industry, you always have to be looking to improve your game.
And it doesn't matter. That's the best example. Like, I know we could talk about this for a whole podcast, but I don't care if you're playing $2 a slate. It's still the same point. You're still trying to hit that pay line. You're still trying to have fun. You're still trying to profit. People always want to use the excuse like, oh, well, you got this much or you got that much or this many teams. Just get better. Like, it's all small building blocks. Like, Hoop plays way bigger than me. It doesn't mean I don't try to get better. And maybe one day I play as big as him. It's just, it is what it is. You got to work your way up. It doesn't matter where you're at. You could literally be playing for $1 a slate, still try to get better.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things I actually respect the most about Hoop is he talks about people, been at the top and gone. This guy has been playing consistently, for years. Like, when I started, like 5, 6, whatever it was, 5, 6 years ago, like, I always saw Hoop in all these contests. And some of contests, like I wasn't playing very big then. I was playing very small, just starting out. And I always saw Hoop, and there were a few other guys who I always saw up there, and I'm like, I always wanted to get to that point, but it took me years. It didn't just happen overnight, where I just all of a sudden was like, oh yeah, and then I just went on like a 5-year heater. No, it's like been the last 2 years, but I've been playing DFS for 6 years now, or whatever it is. Like, it's been years. And it wasn't until really 2, maybe 3 years ago where I started winning consistently. I had big hits, maybe 4 years ago, one big hit here, but I never got consistent big hits in a year until 2 years ago. And I mean, people think it's so easy. Oh, you playing this much? I never used to play what I play now, ever. I was playing like the $3, the $4 play, whatever was the play action or whatever they were having for the NFL, and I was playing.
When they say that, though, they don't realize when you lose, when you're playing that big and you lose, what it does to your mind too. Like, it's a mind game too. Sure, you're playing bigger and you win bigger, but you also lose bigger when you have a losing week or month. It hurts your soul. So all of it goes into the learning process. I don't care who you. And you need a little luck to break through, but a little luck comes from hard work too. You got to put yourself in that position.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Yeah, that's 100% for sure. One thing, guys, we have this single game. Was it on DK? I think, right, Tony? We got a Showdown slate. I did want to kind of just quickly hit on it if we could.
We need to get 14 more likes too while we hit on this, so we can give out this gear.
We're giving out some more content on this single game. We better get 14 more likes. I mean,
we've given out a lot of info here too. Like we should be getting 14 likes for sure.
I mean, and again too, if you haven't got over to Run Pure Sports, get over there and check it out. I mean, you can get like a weekly pass. You can get the rest of the month for like, I think it's 20% off if you use the promo code Join the Movement. Like, get over there and try it out. Like, see what it's all about. Like, I mean, either way, if you spend a week pass, it's $20. If you don't like it, you don't like it, and that's that. But I mean, get over there.
Tell us too. Like, if you get on there and think something just sucks, like, get on there and tell us. So we're all pretty honest. We all can take criticism. If you hate something, just tell us, and we'll try to get it better for you.
And the one thing, the product we're offering is unique from the competitors. I mean, a lot of the industry has moved towards, fully being based on models, projections, and things of that sort. Like, that's where we're unique. I mean, we put a lot of work into the content, personal work, and you're getting the plays and the advice from, myself, Tony, JSU, AP, you got the captain, got Mangone, and we have, 15 other coordinators and contributors hitting on every sport, every slate. And, it's not just numbers and model driven. Like, I mean, I am, no secret. I'm not with NBA yet. The projection and stuff matter, but you do not need to be a numbers person and understand all the statistics to have success in the DFS space. And that's kind of, the direction we're moving with our product. And I think people are liking it so far.
And no one has a better team as far as playing. Like, we go super deep of people that play fantasy. I mean, everybody's playing in some sort. Everyone doesn't need to play massive volume, just like we just talked about. We have tons of people involved that don't play for huge stakes, that still profit, that still do great content, and just they have a skin in the game. That's all that matters. So you're getting in there and battling with you. And in the Discord, everyone's rooting for everyone. And I mean, NBA last night, we had 10, 15 people in there rooting for their teams and other people's teams. It's a fun process as this thing grows for sure.
Yeah, and this is it. When Tony says that, he's not. We're not trying to we just saying that as a team, as a playing team, like we all play DFS, all at different stakes. Maybe like me and Tony
don't play at different stakes. That's the good part about it. We got all the way up to all the way down.
Yeah, and that's what you want, a team. You want a team of all different types of players, and the coordinators, they get it, and they can kind of relate to some of the subs. I mean, we have subs who play for big money, though. We have some subs who play for big money, and then we have some subs who play for smaller stakes. So we kind of got that whole range. It's not to take a shot at anyone else. It's just saying, as a team, I think for sure we have one of the best DFS teams, I think, in the industry.
Yep.
But Tony, we got over the 150 mark.
The people in the chat, just real quick, we have some people that keep wanting FanDuel plays and stuff. I mean, we've given a ton of content for free. We're not going to give everything out on the free thing too. I mean, we're going to have playbooks. We're going to have all kinds of stuff up for the FanDuel slate on the website. So, I mean, we've talked about everything. I mean, if you need more, then hop on the site and we're going to hop in Discord. We're going to have tons of info, but we don't have time to talk about each in particular spot.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to touch on this single game or?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously I take pride in the Showdown stuff, try to do my best stuff with that just because I feel like it's my strength. This Showdown for the early DK game is not one that I love just because there's not really a way to get contrarian in it. Like the good plays are the good plays. The bad plays are because they're short rotations. There's not really an off-the-wall play I see all that much. So I don't see a huge edge. I think you kind of just play the good plays, like play, if you like the Toronto side a little more, play Pascal, Van Vliet, Lowry. Probably not Lowry just because he's a little more expensive in the captain spot. But, I mean, I honestly don't see that big of an edge in it. Just play the good guys, as crazy as that sounds. There's not – like Kelly Olynyk is cheap, and he played really good the other night, but do you really feel good about Kelly Olynyk? I mean, you can put him in there. He
also scored the majority of his points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
so, I mean, like he was hot in the fourth quarter.
I mean, maybe you guys see something different, but I don't see anything that like sticks out to make this an incredible Showdown to play.
No, the problem is the Heat's rotation. They just play so many guys, and they're so good. Honestly, like these, like they get scoring from a bunch of different people, and then from the Toronto side, I mean, I'll tell you right now, the one thing that I think for sure is I think it's going to be heavier on the Toronto side. I don't know, because I feel like they have 5 or 6 guys locked into big minutes. So, I mean, maybe play more Heat guys in your lineup than Toronto guys. I mean, but I agree with you. It's not one that I love. I don't have a strong feel either way. And we got
so many freaking slates too. Like, what sports back right now? Baseball's hanging in there for us. Knock on wood. We got tons of sports. You don't need to force a random 130 Showdown slate if you don't feel good about it. So I think it's a pass almost.
Yeah, we have Austin in the chat. He just joined today. Appreciate you joining up with the crew. He says he's been watching on YouTube for a little while. So you got the 20% off. Guys, use it. Join the movement is the promo code. Use it. Get that 20% off. That's all the way up until the end of the month, pretty much. So I mean, get you through that month. And we appreciate you joining up. Hopefully some of you guys also get over to runpuresports.com. Tony, what's the Run Pure bets again, real quick? What's their
it's Run Pure DFS is the code. So it's 50% off. It's usually going to be $60 a month. It's going to be $30 for the month of August. So I mean that's like stealing, I think.
Yeah, I don't know how you can beat that. Tony, real quick before we get out of here, why don't you do the scroll and pick one of these people in the chat to get a nice RPS swag bag or whatever it is.
Yeah, let's scroll up. All right, we got Brock Erickson. Oh, this is perfect too. He said, had the second like on the show today. Going to be getting one of those trucker hats for sure.
There you got it. He got it.
He needs to go watch American Pie too here. So what was his name, Eric? I just scrolled again accidentally.
You said Brock?
Oh, yeah, Brock. Yeah. So send us a message, either the Run Pure account or send it to me on Twitter or in Discord. Just get a hold of me somewhere. I'll get you your trucker hat, my man. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, and we appreciate all you guys, watching. Make sure you come back. We have a MLB show at 5 p.m., so come check those guys out. But we got to get our core plays up for FanDuel. So for me, JSU, Big T, Hoop,